Hey, hon.
Yes, ma'am.
Does an individual have to be religious in order to benefit from the healing and clearing work?
And I know you know the answer to this. Why are you asking that question?
Because it's a question that has come up.
Oh, okay. I can see why people would ask that question, because we normally talk about God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or higher being.
Right.
Well, what do you think the answer would be to that?
The answer is no.
All right. What makes you say that? Do you have proof?
That sounds like something from the My Cousin Vinny movie. Just based on client individual experience, yes, we've had individuals who don't believe in God at all, but have sought help and have been helped.
Do you have an example? I mean, we wouldn't want to give names, but I know we had one. I know there's one individual that I know of, a specific one, where the person even had a hard time in the beginning saying the word God, because they just didn't believe in God, and they refused to believe in God. And after about a year or so, the person says God with no issue. And it's not like we forced them to do it. Mm-mm. It was just a slow transition, I guess, that took place.
Just an awakening for them, maybe, in some ways.
If you want to sound religious, sure.
It's trying to sound spiritual. Well, that's another question, you know. Do you have to be spiritual in order for this healing or clearing work to be done or work for you?
Here's the thing. What's the difference between being spiritual and being religious?
Aha! Now that's a very good question. Because to me, being religious is like how I used to be when I was a kid. Always going to church. I could say the entire Latin Mass without even using a missal in Latin.
I would think so. It's Latin Mass.
I know.
I don't want to say Latin Mass in Spanish.
Cut it out. And then I knew all kinds of novenas and rosaries and prayers and
when I met you,
I had holy water all over the place. Even in my purse, I carried holy water. I wore different medals.
Why do you carry holy water? This is new to me. I didn't know this one.
Because I was always under the impression that at any time something could happen. And, you know, like in school, a kid could be choking and look like they're dying. And I could always go and baptize them. And they would go on to, you know, purgatory or wherever they were supposed to go.
Oh.
From my upbringing.
You know, spray some water on them and they'll be safe.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's the saving grace.
You know, when I was
I also
a child,
carried it because I was afraid of demonic possession.
Uh-huh.
Because of a lot of kids in school, especially.
You mean the ones that you had?
That's not funny. I didn't know I had possessions.
You didn't use the water on yourself?
I was thinking stuff like The Exorcist, you know, the movie where people's heads spin and they vomit stuff.
Right.
So I carried holy water around with me just in case I got into a situation with someone where I needed to spray them with holy water to get the demons away from me.
Did you ever think about you should use it on yourself?
I blessed myself with holy water. I drank holy water.
I did that too. That's what I said. When I was a kid, you know, I went to Sacred Heart School. You know, that's Catholic.
Right.
And I would go because the church was right next door to the school. That's just the way it is.
You would get thirsty.
I would get thirsty. I would drink the holy water.
So now you know more about us.
And then I would panic. So, oh, God's going to punish me. I drank the holy water.
Did you confess it in the confessional?
Nope.
Well, for any priests out there who are watching,
we have to do
confession.
We have to do confession like every week. I'd have to make up stuff. You can't do so many sins in a short time.
The priest,
I would make up stuff, man.
The priest that I dealt with said it's healthy to drink holy water.
Oh, really?
So you must not have ever been told that. It's a sacramental. It's supposed to be healthy. Anyway, this is an example of religious. The practices and knowing things inside and out. But if you were to ask me to confirm things about what I truly believed and my faith, I really couldn't do it. I mean, to this day, I've never read the Bible, and I can't quote the Bible.
Which is a surprise to me. Right? That is true.
But
when I met you, though, when I met you before we started working closely, I guess that's when I would know this, when we started working closely. You had been saying, you told me that you'd been saying a
12-year novena.
12-year novena.
Mm-hmm.
For 12 years you've been doing
For
that?
12 years.
Never missed a day?
Never missed a day.
I don't know if that's religious or spiritual. That's amazing.
Some people have told me that is the exact definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and and always getting the same result, whatever that definition is.
I don't know about that because you have to pray. And I couldn't even do the rosary for 2 days straight.
Yeah, I said the
We're
rosary
two
for
different
years.
kind of Catholics, I'm telling you.
Indeed.
But then I knew the Bible.
Yes.
And then you didn't.
But then I
You could say the Latin Mass.
I could confidently say that I wasn't spiritual.
Okay, why are you confident about that?
Because even though I knew all those rubrics, I don't think I truly believed it all. And that came across because, and as I think about it, because I'd always be begging God for things. And I really didn't believe that, the miracles that took place in the Bible, the stories that we'd hear about at Mass or from the saints, I didn't think any of that was possible for anyone else but those specific people, even though you had these Roman soldiers who killed people that turned around and became saints. Because all of a sudden they dedicated their lives to God and they performed miracles and stuff. And I'm like, what? But I never thought that was possible for me.
But you did believe that it happened, though.
I believe that stuff
folks were
happened.
saints.
Yes.
Okay, so...
But I thought they were a chosen few. I didn't think
Well, that's because that's what we're told.
Right, very true.
And when I say we, I'm talking about us Catholics, us. I don't know what other religions.
But I never even felt, I thought I felt a connection to God. I thought I felt a connection to the Blessed Mother and to other saints that I prayed to. But until I really started embracing what I was saying, when I started to do things like decree or change the way I prayed, then I felt the difference. But until then, I was really just going through motions.
So when did you start doing that?
That was when I started working with your best friend, Mr. O.
Oh, that late? Okay.
That late in my life. I was about 20 years old.
But I remember when you told me that when Mr. O was teaching things to you, you thought it was from the you-know-where.
I did.
So why were you listening if you thought it was from the you-know-where?
Because just the very little bit that he taught me, it was like all of a sudden, everywhere I turned, answers were coming to me about these things and like reinforcement, if you will, about what he said. And I'm like, whoa. Even from church on Sundays, I'd be like, whoa, so what he's saying is actually accurate. It's just a little different perspective, but this is different. And then when I started to just decree more, because he and I parted ways because we went to different offices, and so I didn't work with him anymore, and it was just you when you would give me information, and you hardly gave me any information because you assumed he taught me everything, which he didn't. But
well, you guys were close friends, so I just figured...
Nah, I hardly learned anything from him, though, is from my perspective.
My wife still holds that against me.
Because he's still, even to this day, I'll ask him questions like, don't you know that? No, would I ask you if I knew? But anyway, so, I started to read more, and I started to study and research things on my own more, and they started to make sense, and I connected with it.
Okay, so from your experience then, what would you say is the difference between being religious and being spiritual? Being
religious, I believe, is going through, as I call it, the rubrics or the traditions and the culture of a specific religion.
Okay.
You say the prayers and you think it's going to help, but you really don't believe it. Sometimes you might believe it. And then being spiritual, you just know. And you can feel that connection. And you know that you don't have to do all those cultural things or the rubrics that I spoke of.
Okay. So I see it as being religious is where you follow some type of practice, right? A religious practice, whether it's a religion, a denomination of some kind, whether it's Catholicism, Judaism, being a Pentecostal, is that what it's called?
Hindu,
Hindu, or any of those,
any
Jehovah
religion.
Witness, that's a religion, and with that comes certain standards. It's okay. This is what we believe in,
Right.
and then you
base most of your morals and values on that.
right. Now, I want to make it clear that, as far as I know, as long as a religion brings people together for the greater good, that there is no violence, no hatred, it's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Okay?
I agree.
So, no religion is better than the other one. And that might be disappointing for some people to hear. Now, what makes the difference is the leader of that church. Because I'll say it again that, we're Catholics, but I actually enjoy going to the service with Pastor Charlie
At the Presbyterian
at the
Church.
Presbyterian Church, because he is, when he talks from his heart. He's not trying to send a convoluted message, and I just love listening to him.
Right.
And I'll go there, but that doesn't mean I'm not Catholic. I go where the message is the same, isn't it?
It is the
It
same.
still comes from God, So, but I still do the communion thing and all that. It's just that when I want to hear an inspiring message, I go to an inspiring preacher. That's religion to me. When we do those things, like you go to the sacraments with the Catholic Church, I don't know what.
Right, that's what I call the rubrics and traditions, the culture.
Okay. Exactly. Now, to me, being spiritual means that you are living the life.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay? So you're not quoting the Bible. You're not walking around quoting the Bible. Instead, you're living it.
It's your example.
To be an example, exactly. All right? Nobody would know that you're religious because you really I couldn't quote the Bible the way other people can. Now, I believe if I were a pastor, I'd have to know how to quote the Bible because that's my job, right?
Right.
But as a normal citizen, I understand the Bible, I think, and then I read it. And I know some things here and there. That's why I always give the ghetto version, because I don't really know.
That's why we ask you viewers to help us out, because we're like,
Right? But living it is different. And that's where knowing comes in. Where if anybody comes to me and says that God doesn't exist, they're wasting their time, because they could do whatever they want and they can't convince me that God doesn't exist.
Right.
Because I know that God does, and once you reach that level, then you know that you're living a spiritual life, that you're servicing your fellow man, and you're doing that without expectation of any kind.
Right.
You don't differentiate between religions because they all come from the one source. So it's not about whether or not somebody's Catholic or somebody's Wesleyan or Methodist or
Buddhist
Anglican. None of that matters. Because if you look at the message is the same for all of them. Each one has just chosen a particular part to focus on. That's all it is. Each denomination chose a specific prophet. Before Jesus died, nowhere in the Bible does Jesus have, and after I pass away, go start the Catholic Church. You'll call it the Roman Catholic Church. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Or that there'll be Christians following him. He never said that.
Right.
But people ask you, are you a Christian? Because you're a follower of Christ. But it was Jesus that did that. Buddha didn't say, all of you will be Buddhists now.
Right.
No, that's not how it worked.
He did. They both did ask that their current followers go out and spread the word.
Exactly, and that's it. But they didn't say.
They didn't say go start churches and go start groups to huddle together in.
No, it's not even that.
Said to go
because
spread the
that
word.
they should gather somewhere. That's a tradition, right? So it's not about that. But it's more about differentiating and saying one is better than the other. If you notice, even when Jesus was alive, he went and he ate with who they considered the dirty people.
Right. The tax collectors.
His disciples got mad, but he did it anyway. He ate food that they considered not clean, but he ate it anyway.
And he was even among unclean people like the lepers.
Well, because he was showing them that, what you have to do is you're serving your fellow man.
Exactly.
And you don't put anybody down. You don't look down on anybody. That's spirituality, to me. you know? And so now you live your life by understanding the laws of the universe, right? That you can heal because all the prophets before you did that. So why can't you do it? They were human just like you know? As Jesus said, anything that he did, we can do as well, and we could do even more. He told us that, and I always ask people, do you think Jesus lies? Think Jesus will tell you something to make you feel good? I don't think so. You know, so if you believe in the prophets, then you know that you can do pretty much anything that they've done. That's spirituality. That you stop doubting yourself. You stop putting yourself down. Because if you don't believe that you can do those things, you're putting yourself down. Because you're made in the image of God. Now if you're made in the image of God, and think about this. You're made in the image of God, and people think that means, why don't we look like each other? Because if we're made in the image of God, we should all look the same.
Because they think it's a physical thing.
That's correct.
And God is not physical. God is a spirit.
God is energy. All right? God is energy. But despite that, just think about this a little bit. How does the Old Testament start? It starts out by saying, and God said, let there be light. Right? Then what did he do after that?
Oh, you want me to tell the Bible story?
What?
That's where I told you I've never read the Bible.
Okay, well, he created
the land
Exactly.
and the water. He created the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky.
Now listen to what you're saying. I hope this is... See, I don't even think you're internalizing this. So
I'm trying to remember the Bible story.
Now let's start again. So God said, let there be light. And what happened?
There was light.
There was light. And it won't be in order because we don't know it in order. But then he said what?
Let there be a heaven and an earth.
And then there was heaven, there was earth, right?
Right.
If that's even in the Bible.
I don't know. You can correct us, people.
Let's go. And then what? But then is what? We have the animals.
The animals on the land and the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky.
Exactly. All of a sudden you had animals, birds in the sky.
All these creatures.
Now let's go back to the statement. And God made man in his own image. So if God made man in his own image, can they also create the way God created?
Yes.
See? But if you're religious, you don't think so. If you're spiritual, you think so.
Yes.
So here's a catch. Here we are, we're talking about people, helping people get healed with different things. And then there'll be people saying, well, I don't know, I don't think so. People get worried about dealing with folks like us because they're afraid that they might be going to you-know-where.
Yes,
or
or they
that
might
we're
be
connected
dealing
with you-know-where.
Yes, with the darker forces.
Exactly, right? Good concern. But if you're dealing at the spiritual level, then what is there to be concerned about? You know you're protected.
That's right.
You know, and you'll be able to tell because you have the gift of discernment. It's not just Jesus or the Buddha or Moses or
selective
Muhammad,
saints.
right, that have that. All of us do. So going back to the question, do I have to be religious to be healed? No. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe in any spiritual being, any supreme being. You don't have to. None of that matters. At all. Well, think about it this way. We have kids that have been helped. They don't sign anything because they're kids. Their parents sign it for them.
Right.
These kids don't even know that work is being done on them.
That's right.
Yet so they get healed. How is that possible? So they don't even believe because they don't know.
The angels aren't going to say, oh, you haven't admitted to believing in us, so we're not going to help you.
Can you imagine someone coming to Archangel Michael and saying, and the person happens to be, say, a Hindu person,
Okay.
and they say, Archangel Michael, I need a protection because I want to do this mirror technique. And Archangel Michael, he's up there saying, you're Hindu, don't be calling me.
Call Shiva.
Exactly. I don't deal with
You won't
Hindu
do
people.
that.
Right?
Archangel Michael will be there in an instant. You got it. Here's your protection. Let's go.
Or here's a Jewish person, right? And they're like, oh no, we killed Jesus according to movies, right? So I don't want to call Jesus, but I said, well, let me call him anyway. So then you call him Jesus, you know, I need your help. And Jesus said, oh no.
Sorry, you guys crucified me. I'm not helping you.
No, you need to call somebody.
We're making light of this. It's kind of funny to us, but
that's what
they're good
religion
examples.
is.
That is what religion is, you know?
All right? That's not spirituality. That's religion. Because when you start to think that there is this discrimination in heaven, then you don't get it. Because spirituality points to the fact that there's one God, there's one supreme being, there's one teaching, and that's what we talk about. It's called the teachings. And each denomination has chosen to take a part of that. And that's how they built their
religion.
But that's only a portion. The big thing is even bigger than that, and that's what you were introduced to by my best friend.
Yes.
Right? Before
the
you
bigger
passed
picture.
on. The bigger picture. And once you saw that, all of a sudden, you weren't that fanatic Catholic person anymore.
No, I wasn't.
You got to understand, I can be Catholic, but it's okay to respect other religions. Actually, it's a wonderful thing. Yeah?
Indeed.
So, we want to be spiritual is the point. We should be spiritual. But to be spiritual means that you should be open to all people of all religions. We don't look down on any of them. And then we respect all of them. And we try to understand all of them. That's why we have learned a lot about Buddhism. We read the Quran. We know about Judaism, where we have the Torah, that's the beautiful thing about the Jewish faith, by the way, because they show you right there that there's the religious aspect, and they have a book for that called the Torah.
Right.
And then they have the
Kabbalah,
exactly,
the mystical book,
the
book of mysticism,
which is the spiritual side, and that's called the Kabbalah. Right now, a lot of people, you have to be a special scholar to study the Kabbalah because it's really complicated. But that's the spiritual life. That's where they learn to work with energy, just like we do now. But that's about the only religion that I know of where there's a division in the religion.
Where they separate it.
They separate, right? And everybody knows, there's this part, which is just the word, you study the word and everything. It's very helpful. Follow the laws, and then there's the spiritual side, the mystic side.
And you can be spiritual and not follow any religious sect of any kind.
Well, that's what spirituality is. That you're not following a religion.
You just follow the great laws of the teachings, basically, which everyone eventually finds out and learns.
So,
anyway.
Whether or not you believe in God or any higher being or any higher power, and whether or not you believe that you can get healed, the angels don't care. And even if you believe that there is no intermediary between you and
God,
because,
or a higher power,
right,
the
because
source.
There's some religions like that. I just thought about that it's just them and God. Lutherans are like that, right? They don't believe in saints and things like that.
Right, you don't worship anybody but God.
Exactly.
Just God.
So even if it's like that, it's still fine. You'll still get healed. Because the angels will go like this, you don't believe in us, so we're not going to help you. They're going to help you anyway.
Right.
Because they're there. Okay.
All right. I think we've covered the topic. Find us on Facebook at Clearing Healing and Guidance, YouTube and Instagram, as well as our webpage. We're all 190 Vision.